朋友们好，就在这2天，德国的新任总理默茨带着一个号称高规格的经贸代表团，浩浩荡荡地跑来中国了。这是他上任后的第1次访华。按理说，现在德国经济那个惨样，汽车卖不动，工厂要裁员，连带头大哥特朗普都威胁要给他们加关税，他们来中国应该是来求合作的，对吧？结果你猜怎么着？人家总理一下飞机，这调子起的那叫一个高啊！满嘴的去风险、公平竞争、产能过剩，听着不像是来谈生意的，倒像是来给我们上课的。但这课他讲的真的有底气吗？欢迎来到阿欣的茶水间。我们先来听听默茨总理是怎么教中国做人的。
China und Deutschland haben positive Erfahrungen miteinander über viele Jahrzehnte gemacht. Und deshalb investieren wir in unsere Wettbewerbsfähigkeit, in unsere Verteidigung und in unsere Widerstandsfähigkeit. Das macht uns nicht zuletzt zu einem stärkeren, besseren Partner auch für China. Es wäre aber ein Fehler, eine Entkopplung von China damit zu verbinden. Gerade deshalb müssen wir sicherstellen, dass in den deutsch-chinesischen Beziehungen keine Unwuchten entstehen. In diesem Sinne werden wir uns über die großen Chancen austauschen, die die deutsch-chinesische Zusammenarbeit weiter eröffnet. Großmachtpolitik bestimmt ist, müssen wir dringend unsere Hausaufgaben im Inneren machen. Das gilt für die Bundesrepublik Deutschland, das gilt für die gesamte Europäische Union. Und deshalb investieren wir in unsere Wettbewerbsfähigkeit, in unsere Verteidigung und in unsere Widerstandsfähigkeit. Das macht uns nicht zuletzt zu einem stärkeren, besseren Partner auch für China. Zweitens, wir wollen und müssen eine Politik des De-Risking betreiben. Das gilt nicht nur gegenüber China, sondern das gilt insgesamt. Es wäre aber ein Fehler, eine Entkopplung von China damit zu verbinden. Mit einer solchen Politik würden wir uns nur selbst schaden. Wir würden unsere wirtschaftlichen Chancen verbauen, statt sie zu verbessern. Dies würde unsere Welt auch nicht sicherer machen und wir vergäben die Möglichkeit, gemeinsam globale Aufgaben anzugehen. Gerade deshalb müssen wir sicherstellen, dass in den deutsch-chinesischen Beziehungen keine Unwuchten entstehen. Beide Seiten müssen Risiken vermeiden, die aus einer immer dichteren Vernetzung und aus einseitigen Abhängigkeiten entstehen kann. Das gilt ganz besonders auch mit Blick auf Lieferketten, auf Technologien und Rohstoffe. Drittens, Konkurrenz belebt das Geschäft. Wettbewerb ist gesund, solange er fair ist. China und Deutschland haben positive Erfahrungen miteinander über viele Jahrzehnte gemacht. Für uns Deutsche war das eine prägende, sehr positive Erfahrung. Voraussetzung ist und bleibt allerdings, dass unser Wettbewerb fair und transparent ist. Es muss Verlass auf gemeinsam vereinbarte Regeln sein. In diesem Sinne werden wir uns über die großen Chancen austauschen, die die deutsch-chinesische Zusammenarbeit weiter eröffnet. Wir wollen auch diskutieren, wie wir Abhilfe schaffen, zum Beispiel wo Überkapazitäten entstanden sind, wo es Ausfuhrbeschränkungen gibt, wo es Zugangsrestriktionen im Wettbewerb gibt, die den Wettbewerb verzerren und verhindern. Wir wollen das Potenzial unserer Partnerschaft ausschöpfen und nicht verkleinern. Dass mich eine hochkarätige Wirtschaftsdelegation auf dieser Reise begleitet, zeigt, wie groß das Potenzial auch in der deutschen Wirtschaft gesehen wird. Es zeigt, wie wichtig es ist, dass wir offen miteinander eben über fairen Wettbewerb sprechen.
听完这段话，阿欣真的忍不住想给默茨总理鼓个掌。什么叫既要又要？这就是最高境界啊！他这番话翻译成阿欣的大白话就是：中国啊，我们不能跟你脱钩，因为我们还想赚你的钱。但是呢，你的高科技产品别来卷我们，你的稀土也别卡我们脖子，这叫去风险。只要你让我赚钱，不让我吃亏，这就叫公平竞争。这算盘打的，我在北京都听到了。但是现实不是童话故事，不是你德国想要什么，世界就得给你什么。默茨在台上喊得再大声，也掩盖不了一个极其尴尬的事实：现在的中德关系早就攻守一行了。不信，我们来看看德国人自己的媒体德国之声是怎么说的。他们可是把德国现在最痛的地方全给抖出来了。
Over the past year, German politicians and business groups have increasingly warned about intensifying industrial competition with China and the risk of a new China shock. China has become a sophisticated manufacturer and is advancing rapidly in key technologies, a growing challenge for Germany's export-driven economy. Last year, China sold $1 trillion more overseas than it imported. Germany's economy is highly export-driven, but exports to China fell more than 9% in 2025. Overall car exports to China have dropped by a staggering 2/3 since 2022.
Well, I think what Germany really needs to do is talk less about China and do more. So I don't think he's going to go to China sort of with all guns blazing, criticizing China publicly. I think he will have a very tough message for the Chinese leadership behind closed doors.
Balancing the need to protect vulnerable German industries from cheap Chinese goods while repairing strained ties will be a defining challenge for Chancellor Merz in the year of the horse.
And DW Chief Political Editor Michaela Kufner is traveling with the Chancellor. She sent us this update from Beijing.
Friedrich Merz has arrived in China for his first official visit with a big ask for Beijing to stop supporting Russia over Ukraine. Now, everybody knows that that will not happen, but there are nuances in between. At the same time, as China enjoys demonstrating its new, not just political, but economic might around the world, Friedrich Merz's industry in Germany back home faces dropping export numbers to China. Automakers that produce here are really feeling the pinch from Chinese competition. This is something he has to navigate, along with the whole question of where rare earths will come from in the future as China becomes more and more restrictive and is very open that it wants to use this as a political instrument as well. Then there's also pressure from the United States, who want to see their European partners take a tough line on the Chinese government and particularly on their trade deficit. So a tricky mission for the German Chancellor and a big wish list to take home, both for industry, but overall with that overarching concern over Ukraine.
And for more, let's bring in DW's East Asia correspondent Rick Glauert, who's joining us now. Rick, how do you see what's coming out of the Chancellor's first meeting with the Chinese Premier Li Keqiang?
Well, Merz said that he was happy for Germany and China to deepen cooperation, but he said he had specific concerns and that the relationship should be fair. I mean, I think that really frames his trip. He, of course, wants a stable, prosperous relationship with China, but he's bringing those real concerns with him over that big trade deficit. The reality is that, Germany is exporting less to China, that German brands in China have less of a market share, and that Chinese brands are increasingly competing with Germany in third countries, around the world. So many of the manufacturers, some of those who will be joining him on this big trip, have real concerns that this is costing jobs in Germany, and they say it's because of unfair practices by China, pointing to things like government subsidies, and they'll be wanting Merz to address those issues.
Tell us a little bit more about what he wants from the Chinese leader.
Latest in a slew of leaders visiting, and he'll be happy to host another world leader. He's positioning himself as a stable partner compared to the US, and also, a leader in the new multipolar world order. Germany and Europe are important markets for China, so he'll be looking to increase cooperation with Merz, keep that relationship stable. Particularly after the US sanctions, the China is really looking to maintain access to Germany and to Europe. As the Chinese economy, the domestic demand has been slowing down. They've been increasingly relying on the export market. So he'll want to make sure that Merz and other leaders in Europe don't do any reaction to those, Chinese goods flooding the EU markets.
And the German Chancellor is visiting during China's Lunar New Year festivities. Is there a message behind the timing of the trip?
Well, it's certainly good timing. It sends a good signal. It's been an opportunity for both sides to talk about goodwill, good omens. And also this timing was marked by Beijing, so it obviously shows a bit of a priority in the relationship with Germany at the beginning of the new year. But I don't think that this goodwill will be enough to paper over the big differences, and that Merz does have a big mission here when it comes to the trade deficit and also those big differences on geopolitical issues.
Talk with us about, some of the tricky issues. For example, Chinese support for Russia, Chinese, aggression in the region. Will there be the opportunity to address these matters?
I think Merz will be having to do it very delicately. It will be happening behind closed doors. We won't be seeing any big public address on these issues. Merz has been saying in the lead up to this trip that economic issues and foreign policy are, of course, intertwined. So he may be using that logic to address those issues to China. For example, he can say that China's ongoing support of Russia through its buying the oil and gas and also supplying those dual-use materials that feed the Russia war machine. Merz can suggest that is an economic issue for China, but it's a security issue for Germany and for Europe. Likewise, issues here in Asia, China's aggression around Taiwan and in the South China Sea, that's a direct threat to the global economy, to those all-important tech supply chains. So Merz will, he might have some leeway if he addresses those concerns in that framework.
Let's take it back to the economy. Tell us a little bit more about the economic dependencies of these two nations and how they've evolved over the past years.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have been talking about a China shock that, that Germany is facing up to in the last couple of years and over the last few months even. The relationship between Germany and China has really flipped. For years, Germany was a big exporter to China. China relied on a lot of German machinery, German know-how, buying a lot of German cars. But in recent years, that has completely flipped. And now, China is the one exporting a lot to Germany. That's obviously having a big impact at home in Germany and in relying on those exports and the manufacturing industry. And there's also a lot of dependentness between the two sides. China still relies quite a lot on German imports for materials and other chemicals and manufacturing. But at the same time, Germany relies on China for those all-important rare earth materials to build its cars and other sophisticated technology. So both have hands to play when it comes to negotiations on the trade and economic issues.
Rick Glauert, DW's East Asia correspondent. Thank you.
听完德国之声的分析，大家是不是觉得有点魔幻？10年前，德国是高高在上的工业导师，他们把汽车、机械卖给我们，赚得盆满钵满。那时候，他们怎么不提产能过剩？怎么不提公平竞争？现在，中国的新能源车、光伏、精密制造起来了，而且物美价廉。德国人突然发现自己的车在中国卖不动了，甚至中国品牌都杀到欧洲老家去了。去年，中国的出口比进口多了1万亿美元，而德国对华出口呢，跌了9%，汽车出口更是暴跌了2%。于是他们急了，他们发明了一个新词，叫中国冲击。阿新在茶水间里想问一句，这叫冲击吗？这明明叫优胜劣汰。默茨这次来背着一个长长的愿望清单，他想让中国在俄乌问题上施压俄罗斯，想让中国保证不限制稀土出口，还想让中国给德国汽车留点市场份额。但他手里有筹码吗？没有。他唯一的筹码就是所谓欧洲市场的准入。但在特朗普高举美国优先的大棒，甚至威胁要对盟友征收100%关税的今天，欧洲市场自己都在瑟瑟发抖。所以，德国现在的处境是一个死局。在安全上，他们被美国绑架，跟着美国去惹俄罗斯，结果导致自己失去了廉价的俄罗斯能源，这是德国工业的命根子。在经济上，他们跟着美国喊去风险，试图在科技和供应链上排挤中国，结果发现没有了中国的市场和技术，德国工业连转都转不动。就像视频里那个德国记者说的，德国现在是少谈中国，多付诸行动。他们在闭门会议里可能会很强硬，但强硬有什么用呢？实力的天平已经倾斜了。中国接待默茨，展现的是一个大国的气度和稳定。我们愿意合作，我们的大门是敞开的。但在商言商，在规则面前，没有人会因为你是老牌帝国就让你3分。你想买我的稀土？可以，按规矩来。你想卖汽车？可以，但你得造出比我更好、更便宜的车。这就是2026年国际政治的残酷真相。 意识形态的滤镜正在碎裂，剩下的是赤裸裸的产业竞争和实力对抗。默茨如果还带着冷战时期的优越感，试图用说教的方式来跟中国谈生意，那他这趟北京之行注定只能是空手而归。德国的病根子在华盛顿，也在他们自己傲慢的偏见里。好了，今天茶水间的深度复盘就到这里。你觉得德国汽车还能重回巅峰吗？欢迎在评论区留下你的看法。别忘了点赞、订阅阿欣的茶水间，我们下期再见。